What's going on, y'all? Footwear Fabian. We are back with a video, man. 2026 is kicked off, right? What are we in the third week thus far? And we're doing a reaction to the Simpsons predictions, man. Simpsons warned us that 2026 would change everything, man. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know y'all's thoughts on this in the comment section below. We know the Simpsons are always ones to predict things and they actually happen. So how they do it, who knows? But we finna find out their 2026 predictions. So comment down below, subscribe to the channel, man. Let's go.
A world drowning in plastic, governments quietly controlling what you watch, robots replacing the very workers who train them. The Simpsons warned us that 2026 will change everything. From season 27, we have an episode called The Margian Chronicles. The setup is classic Simpsons. It starts with something really simple and then spirals into something you were never expecting. So Homer steals eggs from Ned Flanders, and it ends up with the whole family signing up for a one-way mission to colonize Mars. The company behind it is called Exploration Incorporated, very similar to SpaceX or Mars One. In the episode, they originally announced that they want to have a colony established on Mars by the year 2026. But when the guys running the project, Paul and Barry, find out that a rival company is about to beat them to it, they announce they aren't waiting for 2026 anymore. They're gonna move the launch up to that coming Thursday. That rushed space race energy is exactly what we're seeing in the real world right now. We've got all these companies competing to be the first to reach specific milestones. The Simpsons predicted that private companies would get so competitive over Mars, they'd start...
Right, literally the other day, SpaceX had launched like 50 satellites, I believe, into orbit or something like that. Now, you were able to actually see the rocket, and well, if you're local to Florida, so people were able actually to see the rocket as it entered or went out into the stratosphere, whatever they call it. So interesting. I was out here in Florida, so it seemed like they're hitting it right on the head. But having a whole colony developed by 2026 is ludicrous.
Making wild promises and changing their timelines. Now, whether we actually launch humans next year or it turns out to be a lot of corporate posturing like it was for Paul and Barry, that's another question. Plastic World is the third segment in the latest Treehouse of Horror episode that just aired a couple months back. The title, Plastic World, is of course a nod to the 1995 movie Waterworld, but the rest of the episode is mostly a parody of the Mad Max franchise. Instead of the world being flooded or gasoline shortages turning the planet into a violent wasteland, here the whole world has basically become a giant landfill. Lisa's walking around by herself because the rest of the family was wiped out in a plastic avalanche, and the only hope anyone has is digging deep enough to find actual dirt to grow food. She ends up finding the Quickie Mart buried under mounds of plastic, but loaded with perfectly preserved frozen food. And the second there's food on the table, factions start fighting over it. Bart shows up, turns out he is alive, and is now in charge of a roaming band of marauders. Well, you know what I'm gonna say. The world is definitely producing the...
That's kind of like the scene from This Is the End, if y'all seen that with Jonah Hill, right? And who else was in it? I think of Michael Cera, and then there was like Seth Rogen in it, James Franco. Yeah, it was James Franco. But like, I forgot, who was it? Danny Pine or something like that. He ends up like joining this cohort to where they're doing some questionable things, but they're cannibals at the end of the day.
Most plastic it ever has. Projections from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development and the UN Environment Program are saying companies are on a path to at least double that by the late 2030s. Most of this plastic doesn't get recycled. It just piles up in landfills or breaks down into microplastics that are now showing up in the water, soil, snow, our bodies. So when the episode shows Homer and Marge and a bunch of other characters mutating into plastic versions of themselves, of course it's exaggerated, but it's not totally outlandish. Plastic is in a way becoming part of us. Not to mention, have you seen celebrities' faces these days? Treehouse of Horror presents Simpsons Wicked.
That seemed like a stretch.
Is the 7th episode of season 36. Features 3 segments, all tributes to Ray Bradbury stories. The third story drops us into a future where Springfield has gone fully dystopian. But not in the robots taking over kind of way, it's a lot more insidious. The government here controls people by banning anything lowbrow, so no dumb TV, no junk entertainment. Homer works on a squad led by a man named Siegfried Blaze. Their whole job is burning old videotapes of cheap TV shows. At home, the only shows allowed are these dry prestige dramas, which of course Homer hates every second of. When Homer raids the old Springfield Elementary and finds Willie secretly watching a beat-up America's Funniest Home videotape, Homer can't help himself. He watches it, laughs, suddenly remembers what actual fun feels like. Willie gives him the tape before getting hauled off, and Homer starts sneaking off the attic to watch it in secret. But Bart snitches on him. Blaze confronts Homer and ends up revealing that in order to keep people distracted, they push high-end quality content so nobody notices how awful the world around them has become. It's a total inverse of what we're seeing in the real world. Every platform seems to be headed in the opposite direction. TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels. It's all full of this low-effort trends, rage bait, AI.
Facts.
Just like the Simpsons episode, it's all meant to keep people scrolling. And AI-generated videos.
This is probably the most factual, theory or whatever they're trying to run with, man. This is probably one of the most factual ones. Like, it's interesting enough, we're seeing a whole lot more screen time. I think that there was some article or some post that had came out to where I forgot who covered the story, but they're saying like parental locks and how you're able to limit your child's screen time isn't helping. Like, they're finding ways to still accumulate screen time. Like, it baffled me. It baffled me. So they're saying the amount of time that people are spending on the phone scrolling over the years is just, it's exceeding. It's going through the roof, man. Think about that. Literally walking zombies. You got some folks who walk and scroll, running into poles, running into people. It's like, do you live in the world? Or are you that obsessed with your phone? Are you that caught up with your phone to where you can't look up and have a conversation? You can't look up and see where you're going. People are more socially awkward than ever before, if you notice that. They can't maintain conversations. And they have to have the phone involved as something to offset. Let's say they get too uncomfortable. Let's say they get anxious. Let me put my head down and get back to scrolling.
Getting pushed
That's
harder
2026,
every year.
ladies and gentlemen.
2026 could easily be a world where entertainment gets so optimized for watch time that genuine creativity just gets buried. But the main point is controlling the...
And that's the thing, though. That's a good point. There is no creativity. People just... I ain't gonna lie, I'm guilty of it as well. On some of the content I post, it's just like, sometimes, especially when it comes to the shorts, there's no depth to it. It's just shock value entertainment. Or things that'll capture attention, maybe through a title, maybe a certain type of thumbnail, clickbait, but it's more shock value. Shock value has always sold, though. That's nothing new. But what I was going to say was, for the folks who are understanding this trend, you better get on it quickly. And I'm not just talking about being a follower. I'm talking about figuring out ways to monetize, because this is where everything is shifting.
Population through content, keeping them distracted, depressed, and unfulfilled. That's already happening. The episode Bart to the Future gets brought up a ton when talking about Simpsons eerily predicting the future, mainly because of this line.
As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump. How bad is it, Secretary Van Houten?
For all four of you who haven't seen this episode, it takes place in the future. Lisa grows up to be the, quote, first straight female president. Now, seeing as Bart to the Future aired in 2000 and takes place 30 years into the future, that would put it in the year 2030, a year after Trump's current term in real life will end. That's pretty eerie. Now, obviously, Lisa Simpson isn't going to be president, but it is possible the United States will be in deep debt by the time 2030 rolls around. There's a very good chance. I mean, you probably don't need me to tell you that things are pretty insane right now. This next one comes from season 16, episode 19, where Homer basically has a full-on meltdown after watching a movie at the theater and becomes convinced that the rapture is coming. From there, he starts spotting signs everywhere. He does a bunch of homemade numerology and confidently tells the entire town the world is ending in 1 week. After Homer says stars will fall from the sky, and then a blimp accident knocks a bunch of celebrities to the ground, technically stars falling, Springfield instantly treats it like confirmation. Because this is a silly cartoon, everyone buys into the doomsday idea and starts preparing for the worst. The thing is, this doesn't just happen in cartoons. As we've seen time and time again, people do buy into baseless doomsday predictions. You know, remember this past summer when TikTok had that massive doomsday trend where people were selling their homes and cars, quitting their jobs, posting these embarrassing videos smugly talking about how great it was, the end times were coming? Yeah, this is probably not gonna get any better. It's so easy for misinformation to spread these days. Unfortunately, I see more doomsday panic in the coming years.
Of course.
In the episode
Without
The
a doubt.
Partridge Family, all the way back in season 9 from 1997, the episode opens with the family watching an ad for a big soccer game that's being held in Springfield, a match between Mexico and Portugal, the winner of which will determine the best in the world. It's basically the Simpsons equivalent of the World Cup final. Well, the next FIFA World Cup is going to be hosted across North America. One of the main host countries is Mexico. For Mexico to make it all the way to the final, especially playing on home turf, that would be one of the most unbelievable history-making runs in sports. And the fact that the show paired them with Portugal, another country that's never actually made it to the final, makes this one less likely to happen, but not impossible. I'll be keeping a lookout. Now for a really fun topic: corporate media mergers. This prediction
Bro
comes
basically
from season
said
6.
both of those teams are garbage. That's what he alluded to. He's like Mexico, Portugal. Bro, I don't know about that. That don't add up. But you never know.
Episode Lisa's Wedding, which is also famous for its flash forward to the year 2010. Of course, 2010 has come and gone, but the underlying concept is still highly relevant in the current day. In one scene, we see a news ticker running across the bottom of the screen. It announces the networks have merged into one ridiculous behemoth entity named CNN-BCBS, a mashup of CNN, NBC, and CBS. Now, while we haven't seen that exact triple merger happen yet, the show was perfectly predicting the trend of media consolidation, where giant companies just keep buying up smaller competitors
Facts.
until only a few massive organizations control all the news and entertainment. Think about what's happening in the last few years alone. Disney owns
I was just about to say that,
right?
man.
Like every franchise is Disney now.
I was just about to say that Disney's swallowing everything up. Pause. You know what I'm saying? You heard that Hulu is going to be dissolved, essentially. I don't know when that's gonna be. You know, when that's gonna be finalized. But so to speak, they're saying Hulu. Obviously, Disney owns Hulu, so they're just gonna merge those two platforms into one. Or actually, I think like Hulu's gonna have it's like its own subcategories, its own subsection under Disney Plus. They're consolidating everything nowadays. Everything. Now, call it cutting costs, call it some type of conspiracy, or who knows what it's ownership. That's what it is, bottom line. Ownership, being able to buy out.
There are constant rumors about what Amazon or Apple might buy next. The industry is under huge pressure from streaming, and when companies get desperate to survive, they merge. It would be shocking, but it wouldn't be impossible for the major news players to combine in order to stay profitable, especially because so many people
Netflix
get their
going out
news
of business,
from
you.
podcasts now. By 2026, we could absolutely see an announcement for a new giant network with some equally awkward name. And this last prediction is probably the biggest anxiety driver for people right now: automation and robots stealing all the jobs. The best episode to look at for this is probably Them Robot from season 23. Mr. Burns is cutting costs, and Smithers calls all the power plant employees into a meeting. What's the big announcement? Smithers proudly unveils a whole army of advanced AI robots. He then tells the human employees, and this is the direct quote from the episode, "You will train them and they will replace you." That's the whole plan. To make it even better, those robots were voiced by Brent Spiner, who famously played the android Data on Star Trek. It was goofy, classic Simpsons stuff, but look at what's happening now with generative AI and automation. It's not a full robot uprising like the Terminator movies, at least not yet, But people are definitely being replaced in the workforce. By 2026, we're going to see AI and robotics move far past the typical factory line jobs. We're already seeing it take over roles in creative fields, customer service, etc. By 2026, many people who are training an AI system today probably going to realize they just trained their own replacement.
See, I think this isn't making the actual leaps and bounds that they're saying. And a lot of people are going to call me ignorant. Oh, you don't even know, bro. It's not. Because I still think there's the fine line of having some type of ethic and moral code. Like, you can't train that into AI. It's only tasks, certain functionality, right? So, customer service, yeah, you can AI that. You can. Well, I'm talking about, like, let's talk about things that, require a little bit more skill and thought process. I just don't think it's so black and white to say that maybe warehouse work you can automate. You have AI robots, there's some warehouses that are using, I think Amazon warehouses at this point in time have some AI bots as well. And this was years ago when it was already on this. But point being is, I think this huge fear and, the general public going into chaos and overreacting and along the lines of them thinking they're just going to get replaced overnight. That's what I mean. Is I don't think it's really making these leaps and bounds as people think. Now, who knows though? Who knows? But I think there's a little bit more job security than people think.
Well, with all that said, I've been your host, James. I'll catch you, yes, you specifically, in the next video.
And when did this even come out, man? Because he's speaking like 2026 was down the line. This is out a month ago, man. Buddy's over here talking about, well, in 2026. It's like, dude, we're off to the races. It started, but I don't know. I think that this is normal to try to get everybody into a frenzy. Conspiracies that naturally has people thinking about things they shouldn't be thinking about. Focus on things a day at a time. Focusing about the future. By the end of there's already predictions, there's projections, things that we have a general understanding just in terms of how things move along. But they jump out the window. I think a lot of these were kind of extreme, right? Plastic world, like let's come on, man. Let's keep it a beat. Simpsons has been able to predict a few things, but this list seemed very outlandish. I think the most realistic one is obviously that talks about AI and media and entertainment subsidizing, but I think at the same time, like the presidential candidate one, right, where Lisa's running for president by 2030. When Trump's term ends, if we'll see a female president step into office. A lot of people think, it's going to stay on the right side of things. J.D. Vance is going to, take over as the president-elect, but we'll see. Only time will tell, man. Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below, man. Peace, love, prosperity. Subscribe to the channel. We'll see y'all next time, man. We are out.